Hey, my name is Brent Hall, and today I'm going to go over rear button focusing or back button focusing, how to set it up, and why the heck you would ever want to do that. So, rear button focusing is simply not using the trigger button, the shutter release button, as your focusing method. Now, the way that you would set this up is simply go into your custom menus, and in Canon, where I'll show you how to do that since I'm shooting on a Canon here. Or you can hit the Q menu, or you can hit the menu button and go into your custom settings. But once you get there, all you have to do is tell the camera to do metering only for your trigger button and tell it to assign the focus start to something like your star button. That's generally what people use. Like I said, I'm doing this on a Canon, but the star button, and this is the same setup pretty much on Nikons and other cameras. Okay, so it's pretty simple to set up. Once you get it set up and you have it set to your star button, this is where we're going to talk about two other things real quick. We're not quite done yet. We need to assign the type of focusing that we want. So there's two types. This goes along with why the heck you would want to do this in the first place. So there's single shot, and single shot is what your camera is typically set on. You half press, it focuses, and you take the picture. The other type of focusing that is most common is your AI servo. And the AI servo is typically used when you're dealing with sports, action, wildlife, anything where you have moving subjects that you want to follow. And when you put it in AI servo, you don't just half press and then take the shot. As long as you're holding the shutter button down, it will follow and track the subject. And that's very handy for a lot of things. So now that comes to rear button focusing. If you've already set it up, why would you want to keep it on AI servo for rear button focusing? Well, this is the one you're going to want to leave it on, because what rear button focusing is going to allow you to do is have two modes in one. So what I mean by that is you leave it in AI servo because it's no longer assigned to your trigger finger. You now have the option of using your thumb to hold that star button down and track your subject. And it will, as long as your thumb button is held down, the autofocus will stay on, and you'll hear it going in your lens, and you can then just plow away with your camera. Okay, so that's to get your wildlife shots of your crazy kids running around back and forth, soccer games, sports, all that kind of stuff. Birds is great for that. But you also get the added bonus of having the simulated one shot. So if you're doing portraits or in a studio or something like that, basically if you have it on a tripod, or if you're holding it and you want to take a portrait and you know your subject is not moving, then with rear button focusing, you can acquire your focus and then let it go. And when you let it go, it locks the focus on wherever you set it. So as long as you don't move the camera and your subject doesn't move, it's basically effectively the same thing as one shot. So you have two modes in one, and you never have to switch between them again. Those are the two biggest reasons why you would want to have rear button focusing pretty much all the time. All right, quick recap for back button focusing or rear button focusing. To set it up, go into your menu, into your custom operations and controls, and take the focus start off of your trigger button and put it on the star button. When you do this, you have the option of leaving your metering on your trigger button, and that's nice because when you hold the trigger down halfway, you'll get the metering inside so you can see if your exposure is right or wrong. And then you assign it to the star button. You assign the focus start to the star button. So that's how you set it up. And then remember to go up here into your AF mode and switch that to AI servo. That way we'll have effectively both one shot and AI servo modes on the rear button focusing. So again, it's a pretty simple setup. Once you have it set up, you shouldn't really ever have to change it again unless you actually feel like it. But like I said, I use this for a wide variety of shooting scenarios, and it's really great for things you wouldn't think about, like say if you're trying to take a picture of your kid who's sitting there drawing and you're using a like a 51.2 or something, and you got super shallow depth of field. The more shallow depth of field you're shooting at, the easier it is for your subject for you to notice movement when you're shooting. And so if you have that rear button focus assigned and you're just holding it down, it doesn't matter if they're moving back and forth, because you're going to be tracking them, and the moment you hit the shutter, it'll be in focus. You're not going to get the same thing if you have to press it and then they move and then you press and then you just miss the shot. So that's it. That's pretty simple setup, and it just takes a lot of practice to get used to it. Not really a lot, but shoot a few times and practice with different scenarios. Practice with it on a tripod, practice chasing your kids around, practice shooting birds, moving cars, that kind of stuff that's easy. And pretty soon you won't even notice the difference. Once you get this set up properly and you've practiced a bit and you're fairly comfortable with it, the thing you're going to start noticing the most is your rate of keepers. You're going to notice that you're not losing focus as much, and that's going to be the biggest benefit. So that's rear button focusing in a nutshell, and I hope that helps you figure out what it is, how to set it up, and why you would want to keep it. If you have some camera that's super different, the best thing to do is to Google rear button focusing and then put in your specific camera model. There's going to be tons of people who have already done it with every camera model out there. So I just want to keep this a generalized tutorial here. That way everybody can benefit from this method. So if you have if you can't figure it out on your camera, just type it into the YouTube up there and look for your specific camera model with rear button focusing or back button focusing, and that'll pull it up exactly the way you need to do it. So I hope you found that tutorial useful. If you like what you see, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you hit subscribe to my channel. Thanks. Good grief, man. I'm out here in the middle of freaking nowhere. Seriously, nowhere. I'm 6,000 feet up in the mountains, and there's a damn truck. It's like a gravel truck. Oh my God. All right, so now that the truck is gone,